Remember when you first landed on Netflix? A creepy stalker guy, narrated by Penn Badgley's soothing voice, quickly became everyone's guilty pleasure. We knew Joe was bad news, but his inner monologue, his love for books, and his knack for getting rid of pesky neighbors in increasingly creative ways kept us hooked. Joe Goldberg is the ultimate anti-hero. He murders, stalks, and manipulates, all while believing he's the good guy. He's convinced he's acting out of love, which, as we all know, is a terrifyingly flimsy excuse. Yet his vulnerability and that darned inner voice make him oddly compelling. We shouldn't root for him, but sometimes we find ourselves doing just that. Season 4 promised a fresh start. After the chaos and heartbreak of the last season, fans were eager to see if Joe Goldberg could really turn over a new leaf. The showrunners teased a dramatic shift, a new city, a new identity, and maybe, just maybe, a new Joe. But as the sun rises over the iconic Parisian skyline, we're left wondering, can someone like Joe ever truly change? Or is he destined to repeat his mistakes, no matter where he goes? Now, Joe's in Paris, blending in with the locals, and going by the name Professor Jonathan Moore. It's a classic Joe move, reinventing himself, slipping into a new role as easily as changing a shirt. He strolls through cobblestone streets, sips espresso in cozy cafes, and lectures about literature to bright-eyed students. On the surface, he's the picture of sophistication and reinvention. But beneath that calm exterior, the same old Joe is lurking, always watching, always calculating. Joe's desperate to escape his past, a past littered with secrets, lies, and, of course, a staggering body count. Paris offers him anonymity, a chance to disappear into the crowd. But escaping isn't so simple. Every shadowy alley and every unfamiliar face is a reminder of what he's running from. The city's beauty is a stark contrast to the darkness he carries inside. No matter how far he travels, Joe can't outrun the consequences of his actions, and the ghosts of his past are never far behind. In the midst of his self-imposed exile, Joe finds himself drawn to a new woman, Marianne, a librarian with a mysterious past of her own. Is it love, or is it just another obsession? For Joe, the line is always blurred. He's convinced himself that this time will be different, that he can be better, that he can love without destroying. But as he spends more time with Marianne, old patterns begin to resurface. His fascination grows, and soon he's watching her every move, rationalizing his actions as protection, not obsession. But old habits die hard. Despite the new city, the new name, and the promises he's made to himself, Joe can't escape who he truly is. It isn't long before he's back to his old tricks, following, watching, manipulating. Paris may be thousands of miles from New York, but for Joe, the game remains the same. He proves, once again, that you can take the stalker out of New York, but you can't take the New York out of the stalker. And as the season unfolds, we're left to wonder, will Joe ever break free from his own cycle, or is he doomed to repeat it, no matter where he goes? One thing you has always done well is skewering the wealthy and self-absorbed. Season 4 takes us deep into London's elite, a group so out of touch they make the Kardashians look like down-to-earth philanthropists. The show pokes fun at their lavish lifestyles, their influencer culture, and their complete lack of self-awareness. Sometimes it's hilarious. Other times it feels a tad heavy-handed, like the writers are using a sledgehammer to crack a pistachio. You has never been a show known for subtlety, but honestly, Season 4 takes the cake. Actually, it takes the entire bakery when it comes to over-the-top plot twists. Just when you think you've figured it out, bam! Another curveball. Secret identities, surprise twins, long-lost relatives, you name it, this season has it. At some point, it really feels less like clever writing and more like the writers are just making things up as they go along. While You started as a darkly comedic thriller, the humor feels increasingly uncomfortable in Season 4. The show tackles serious issues like misogyny, online harassment, and the very real dangers of stalking. But by trying to balance these themes with Joe's twisted humor and outlandish situations, the show sometimes trivializes the very issues it attempts to address. When the credits rolled on the Season 4 finale, fans everywhere took to social media to share their thoughts. And let's just say, the reactions were anything but unanimous. Some viewers immediately voiced their disappointment, while others tried to make sense of what they'd just watched. The finale, which had been hyped for months, was supposed to deliver a satisfying conclusion to a story that's kept us on the edge of our seats for years. Instead, it left the fandom divided, with heated debates erupting online and in living rooms everywhere. For many, the final episode felt like a letdown. After investing so much time and emotion into the series, fans were hoping for a payoff that would tie up loose ends and provide closure. Instead, what they got was an ending that felt abrupt and, to some, even careless. The pacing seemed off, with major plot points crammed into the last few minutes, leaving little room for the emotional resonance that made earlier seasons so compelling. A common complaint was that the finale felt rushed, as if the writers were eager to wrap things up and move on. Scenes that should have been pivotal were glossed over, and character arcs that had been carefully developed were suddenly abandoned or resolved in ways that didn't feel earned. Fans who had been waiting for a dramatic showdown or a moment of reckoning were left checking their watches, wondering if the show had simply run out of time. Others were left scratching their heads, confused by the plot twists and the logic, or lack thereof, behind certain character decisions. The finale introduced new elements that seemed to come out of nowhere, while leaving important questions unanswered. As friends gathered to discuss the episode, many found themselves debating what had actually happened and whether the writers had lost sight of the story's original themes. And then there's Joe. True to form, he manages to slip away from justice yet again, though not without consequences. For some, this was the final straw. After 4 seasons of watching Joe manipulate, deceive, and harm those around him, many viewers were hoping to see him finally face the repercussions of his actions. Instead, he walks away into the night, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and unresolved storylines. This decision left a bitter taste in the mouths of fans who had been rooting for some form of justice. The sense of disappointment was palpable, with many expressing frustration that the show seemed to reward Joe's behavior rather than hold him accountable. For a series that once prided itself on exploring the dark consequences of obsession and violence, the finale's lack of resolution felt like a betrayal. The ending itself was ambiguous, leaving viewers to wonder what comes next. Was this truly the end of Joe's story, or just another chapter in his ongoing cycle of obsession? The final scenes offered more questions than answers, hinting that the darkness at the heart of the show would continue to spread. For some, this open-endedness was intriguing, but for many more, it felt like a cop-out, a way to avoid giving the story the closure it deserved. In the end, the finale left a large portion of the audience feeling cheated and honestly frustrated. Social media was flooded with posts expressing disappointment, confusion, and even anger. While some fans are holding out hope for a future season or a spin-off that might provide the answers they crave, for now, the show's farewell feels more like a missed opportunity than a satisfying conclusion. So, from bookstore stalker to professor, if you've been following Joe Goldberg's twisted journey from the very beginning, you know just how wild that transformation sounds. We first met Joe as a quiet, bookish guy with a dark secret lurking in the aisles of a cozy New York bookstore. His obsessions, his calculated moves, and his chillingly calm narration drew us in, making us complicit in his every move. But now, suddenly he's teaching literature at a prestigious university in London? It's a leap that's left many fans scratching their heads, wondering if the show has finally jumped the shark. That's quite a leap, right? It's not just a change of scenery, it's a complete overhaul of the show's DNA. The Joe we knew was always lurking in the shadows, blending into the background, his every move driven by obsession and desperation. Now he's standing in front of a classroom lecturing about classic novels, trying to pass as a respectable academic. The contrast is jarring, and it's no wonder viewers are left feeling a bit whiplashed by the sudden shift. The biggest criticism of Season 4 is that it feels like a different show altogether. Critics and longtime fans alike have pointed out that the tone, pacing, and even the core themes seem to have changed. Where earlier seasons thrived on claustrophobic tension and psychological suspense, this new chapter feels more like a whodunit set in a posh British university. The stakes are different, the characters are new, and the sense of danger that once defined the series seems to have faded into the background. Gone is the claustrophobic tension of the earlier seasons, replaced by a more sprawling, almost soap opera-like feel. Instead of the tight, suffocating focus on Joe's obsessions and the people unlucky enough to catch his eye, we're treated to a sprawling cast of eccentric academics, socialites, and would-be detectives. The show's once razor-sharp focus has blurred, and the drama now unfolds across lavish parties, secret societies, and dramatic confrontations that feel more at home in a daytime soap than a psychological thriller. Joe, once a chillingly relatable character, becomes increasingly cartoonish, his actions bordering on the absurd. His internal monologue, once a source of dark humor and insight, now feels exaggerated and even self-parodic at times. The careful, methodical predator we once knew is replaced by a man stumbling through increasingly ridiculous situations, barely keeping his new identity intact. It's as if the show is winking at the audience, asking us to laugh along with Joe's misadventures rather than fear them. Some might argue that this is all part of the show's evolution, a natural progression as Joe tries to outrun his past and reinvent himself yet again. But for many, it felt like a betrayal of what made you so captivating in the first place. The intimate, unsettling connection we had with Joe has been replaced by spectacle and melodrama. While change can be exciting, it's clear that not everyone is on board with this new direction. The question remains, has you lost its edge, or is this just the beginning of a bold new chapter? Season 4 of You is, honestly, a mixed bag. It has its moments of brilliance, particularly in its satire of the wealthy and its exploration of social media's dark side, but it ultimately suffers from an overabundance of plot twists, an uneven tone, and a disappointing finale that fails to deliver a satisfying conclusion. While the show's exploration of obsession and toxic masculinity remains relevant, it's debatable whether you can maintain its grip on audiences if it continues down this path.